Take a look at this. I got my $250 Bipod, my Bad Mama Jamma adjustable vertical grip with optional angled foregrip. Need a light for this sweet offset light mount, and count them, two QD Sling Mounts. Hey, I just want to make sure that I've got my bases covered, and you gotta trick this thing out, right? Well, that's where you're wrong, because more than 80% of you actually don't even need half this crap. But you know, it's not all crap if you know how to pick the right tool for the right job. So let's talk AR-15 Handguard Accessories. Hey guys, Randy here from AT3 Tactical, helping you pimp out your rifle today with all of these handguard accessories. I mean, what's an extra 2 pounds before the old Pink Panther pink mist generator here is even shootable? All right, so obviously being a bit overdramatic here, but this is what the extreme end of accessorizing can look like if there's no specific purpose for what you're throwing on your AR-15. Which is what today's video is all about. We're going over all the jewelry options that you can slap on your handguard: rail covers, rail sections, light mounts, sling mounts, grips, bipods, the whole nut. All right, there are a couple caveats before we get too deep in the weeds here. First, that darn state and federal compliance thing. It pops up here again, but it's mostly directed at your vertical grips, foregrips, whatnot. Some of your states out there have specific regs about grips with or without a pinned magazine. All of us are currently, like time now, walking that fine line on ARs shorter than 16 inches. So, of course, it's on you to do your own due diligence. Check your local listings. Second caveat, pretty much everything we're going to talk about here today, it's either got a Picatinny mounting option or an MLok mounting option. I'm not going to call it out as we go. Keymod, your list is probably a little bit shorter than that. And for those of you still holding on to that old M16A2 poly drop-in style handguard, yeah, they do make rail sections, foregrips, bipods, light mounts, and whatnot, specifically designed for those little vent holes, so you can come play too. All right, we're kicking things off today for our AR-15 accessories. They're rail covers. Simply enough, they cover the empty spaces on your rails. You've got your standard, more standard Picatinny ladder style, like these, or a variety of MLok versions. Your Magpul covers here, they have a locking centerpiece. Our AT3 rail covers, they have more of a standard MLok fitting. The point of these little guys is similar to pistol grips from last episode. It's all about that grippiness. I mean, sure, they look cool. Probably they have some protection of heat if you're mag dumping like a madman, but throughout today's video, you'll hear a common theme, and that is about the control of your AR. And with this being one of the two most important points of contact that you have with your rifle, you better be able to reliably hang on to the thing. To that point, texture can be important here, particularly in terms of your austere environments, your wet, your sweat, as well as like where they're placed. You don't need to line the whole thing with rail covers, but instead put them in the smart areas where your grip naturally lands. That'll save you real estate, but it'll also still look cool if that's what you're after. All right, next up, you got your rail sections, and basically there's those small Picatinny rail sections that you can slap pretty much anywhere that you have an MLok slot, but beware because these things do fill up your space really quickly. Rail sections, they come in plastic, they come in aluminum, mostly with 3, 5, 7, or 9 slots, which are the little grooves here. To put that into perspective, this just under 2.5 inch 5 section, it takes up 1.5 inch MLok slots. The 9 takes up 2.5. So if you think about it, it adds up really quick, especially on shorter handguards. Another thing to watch out for rail sections, they're littered with proprietary rail sections. They're specific to manufacturers' handguards, meaning they're not always going to be a standard fit for your pick rail, your MLok slot, so look closely. We also can't walk away from rail sections without throwing the tip of the hat to the 45-degree offset rail mounts, like the ones from UTG. These are a great way to add gear outside of your standard 12, 3, 6, 9 o'clock mounting spots. For example, they're really popular for flashlights when offset is just more ergonomically convenient for you personally, but more so maybe on your home defense, your CQB type setup. So people use these for a quick peek at your offset iron sights or a low profile red dot. All right, real quick on your light mounts next. Are you going to use a flashlight or not? If the answer is no, this one's easy, move on. If the answer is yes, there's actually a whole new rabbit hole of decisions to match the right light for the right job. It's fine because most certainly we're going to dedicate an entire episode on that topic alone. Here's what I'll say about light mounts, honestly, is 100% a game of choosing the right flashlight first, then go find the mount that works for it. Mounts, they're a dime a dozen, mounting angles, options, brand-specific mounts. So spend your time where it matters the most, choosing the flashlight. And actually, flashlights is probably the #1 offender for the most real estate taken up on your AR-15 handguard. All right, now we're on to sling mounts, and guys, I'll tell you this. If you plan on moving with your rifle on your person in any way, shape, or form, please add a sling mount in a sling. Maybe it's just me, and maybe I'm institutionalized by keeping my rifle out of the dirt, but I just see very few scenarios where being modular with your weapon in this fashion is not going to be beneficial. We've probably got a few tips and tricks episode in the hopper for all of the different types of sling setup combos, but there's really only 2 ways we're getting the sling to attach here on the handguard. It's either a quick disconnect mount or it's going to be a sling loop swivel. A lot of guys will probably argue that the most secure sling mount that you can get, it's going to come in the form of that fixed sling swivel like the one under the A2 style front side post, probably closely followed by a sling loop, but affixed to a Picatinny rail. It's not to say that the standard QD connection is unreliable. I mean, I've clawed my way through some brush, thick thicket without issue, but there is something to be said about the potential failure point of those small little ball bearings versus something that's actually torqued straight onto the rail. There are some companies out there like Magpul and their Paraclip sling mount attachment design. At least somebody's putting some effort into improving this part of our shooting platforms. Couple of us around here in the office, we lean towards these Paraclip styles for that added reliability, peace of mind, specifically because I can lock the clip in place. And this connection is actually a lot quieter than this connection. All right, guys, now we're getting into the good stuff. It's your foregrips, your grips, your hand stops, your barrier stops. Actually, that's really all about it. Let's start with grips first. Then you have your vertical grip and your angled foregrip. Pros and cons of each. Vertical grips, arguably more controllable and versatile in that I actually have more leverage to sink this guy deep into that pocket. I have more control over the recoil and muzzle rise on this far end of my rifle, just from the natural pull down and pull towards me that I get with this grip. Me personally, I feel like I can actually drive the rifle better with a vertical grip, more naturally sharp, crisp, vertically and horizontally. Cons though, unless you're looking for specifically for shorter grips, these aren't low profile by any means, especially when side by side to the angled foregrip here. Angled foregrips, we already know that they're small, they're streamlined, but this is the grip for you thumb over type style shooters. It's more comfortable and ergonomic to some people. For me, just feeling the different muscles at work in my forearm and my back versus the ones that I feel when I'm holding onto this vertical grip. For me, I already know that the muscles that hold in the vertical grip I can hold and engage a lot longer than I can with these ones personally. So test them out, try it out for yourself. Another benefit to the angled grip, I can use this end here as a barricade stop if need be. But that actually brings up a good question. Barricade stops, hand stops, do you need them? I'll tell you what, our little 300 blackout pistol here, it has a hand stop. Honestly, I need it. Otherwise, I'm grabbing onto this blazing hot muzzle device. It's actually in that vein of thought where hand stops can be valuable on the right platform. Why is that? Think about my natural reach on a standard 15-inch handguard. It's a lot further than this short little guy right here, and I'd probably shoot on that longer platform 80% more times than I do the smaller one. Meaning, when my instincts kick in and my non-firing hand goes to reach for the handguard, I can ride the rail until I hit that indexing point. Barricade stops, on the other hand, do you need those? If you think about it, these are for jamming into a barricade as a natural stopping point. And is that any different than jamming the front of my angled foregrip into a barricade? Probably not. A lot of the barricade stops, the marketing jargon around it will be the surface on the tip here. It's ribbed, it's made to not slide off of your barricade, but, wink, wink, my AT3 angled foregrip has the same type of material on the end. All right, next up we have my $250 bipod. Actually, I can't poke fun here because bipods, they are one of the most spendy pieces of accessory you can put on your AR-15 handguard. And you do actually get what you pay for, but that doesn't mean that the most expensive is always the right answer. It's all about your mission, and of course, wouldn't you know it, picking the right tool for the right job. So let's talk bipods, monopods, and Gripods. There's only one name of the game in this department: stability. Bipods, being the most widely used, are where you'll see a bulk of choices for short and tall and panning and tilting and plastic and poly and heights and adjustments and fine tuning and whatnot. To make this one easy, hunters, precision shooters, target competition shooters, these are the bipod styles that you're after. You could have something adjustable, maneuverable, but they're obviously built for a purpose. The rest of us, we're just looking for something that takes the edge off and makes us a little more stable, which it doesn't necessarily look like this at all, and actually it doesn't even come near the price of something like these. But that's where those other two monopods, Gripods, maybe even small plastic or smaller form factor bipods, being built for dual purpose, like a shooting rest, maybe even a vertical grip and bipod. Actually, that's pretty much what a Gripod is. It's a vertical grip and it's got some legs that pop out, which actually brings up a huge point about bipods, monopods, and whatnot. Height off of your shooting platform. The concern here is mostly for prone shooting, where maybe your bipod or monopod is actually shorter than your 30-round magazine, so your magazine winds up being the shooting rest. So this might come off as a little abrasive to some to hear, and don't shoot the messenger, but I'll tell you a little secret. They actually make smaller capacity magazines so that this isn't an issue. I know, what? But come on. We just got done saying that the vast majority of actual bipod users are those who probably aren't out there blasting through an entire 30-round magazine where reloading at any time isn't an option. So, with that in mind, if there was a shooting position where I could beat my own mag-changing speed records, it's definitely laying in the prone. So, swap out a 10-rounder or a 20-rounder. So is my Pink Panther Pink Mist Generator handguard a little bit overboard? Of course it is. That's the point. This is what it can look like if you tried to solve everything at once with one firearm platform. It's like trying everything in your toolbox first before grabbing the Phillips screwdriver that you actually needed for the job anyway. Not to mention that this thing started out at 3 pounds 9 ounces, and 2 whole heavy pounds later, we're not even at flashlights, we're not even at optics, we're not even at sights yet. That's actually where the bulk of your weight will probably end up coming from. That said, in this next episode right over here, we will help you walk through all of those different optics. It's the most crucial thing that you can put on your AR-15 because this thing is dead useless if you don't know where it's shooting. We'll see you over there.